Kyle,
Discussion.
thank you for taking time to do this today. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
nice background. I like it.
Thanks. How
On
are
it.
you?
I'm well. I'm well. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. And thank you for My Dead Friend Zoe. I'm going to try to get through this without crying. I did not make it through the movie without tears. So I'm going to try it. Jumping right in, there were so many powerful moments in the film, not only in the dialogue, but in the visual storytelling as well. One of the lines that stuck out to me was about how we become different people when we lose someone we love because we don't know how to live without them. See, that's like,
Yeah, yeah.
but also the visual representation of running away from those strong feelings every time Merritt laced up her sneakers and hit the pavement.
Yeah.
As a writer and a director, what was your process like crafting those conversations as well as the environments in which they were happening in?
Well, thank you for that question and for noticing that because actually I haven't gotten that quite yet about running and then even that line in particular. That scene in the old folks home, that's actually my cinematographer Matt, that's his favorite scene too, which is funny because it's an empty room and it's just a very real conversation between two people that have experienced something kind of from different ways. But yeah, I mean, for me, this was like crafting those conversations, that dialogue, and then the settings around them. It was both incredibly easy and incredibly difficult. I think it was easy because like the difficult part I had just lived through myself, and so this film it's so autobiographical. I kind of keep telling people it's 93% autobiographical, and I feel like I was just really transcribing things that had happened to me, conversations, things that ways of talking about lost loved ones and dealing with feelings that I had kind of absorbed via osmosis and talking with other veterans and Vietnam veterans that really, were helpful for me and in my catharsis. Like Morgan Freeman's character, and then also Ed Harris, who plays my grandfather. Um, so yeah, it was difficult because I had to live through it, but then it was like very easy to put it on the page. Just kind of, I don't know, spilled my guts. And then the visuals, yeah, I really appreciate that. There's a lot of that stuff. I mean, when I was going through it, my my coping mechanism was a healthy one. It was running. I would run a lot, to the point that even like when Merritt's toenail falls off and she just picks it off and just doesn't even feel pain or think about her body. Yeah, that's all representative. It's all kind of the same soup. And we thought a lot about the running being very close and tight with her in the beginning, and then at the very end of the film. And I won't spoil it, for people, but yeah, suddenly the frame gets a lot bigger, and the world gets a lot bigger for her as she's running.
I noticed that. That was one of the things I really liked about how you handled her journey with the grief and her acceptance. Just how a lot of the camera angles were tight on her in the beginning, and it would just gradually expand
Yeah,
as she was gradually expanding her um, viewpoints on herself, really.
yeah, totally.
So, knowing that this comes from your life experiences, how surreal is it to know that this personal piece of you is now out there in the world and you're positively impacting not only veterans and active military, but people like me who are just dealing with grief and loss and walking through that in our own way?
It is not real. It does not, yeah, surreal is very accurate. Um, I mean, it's what I hoped for. It's what I aimed for. And sometimes it's like you don't know you never think that you're going to get there. And it has exceeded my expectations in every way. And I think that just goes to show how much people do want to talk about stuff and all that we all have lived so many similar experiences. And, I worked very hard to make an apolitical kind of uplifting film that brings people together, especially right now. And like that's totally working. And I feel like it's also I don't know, a message to filmmakers and storytellers and things like that, that, we can tell stories about how we're so different and divided, but we can also do the exact opposite. So yeah, it is surreal. And after every screening that we've done so far, I am mobbed by people, veterans, non-veterans alike, telling me their story or how it touched them. And yeah, it's like chicken soup. Remember that book? Chicken.
Yes.
Yeah,
Chicken
it's
soup
like
for the
that.
teenage soul? Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that. I think I found myself relating to Merritt and I guess you by proxy because she's you.
Yeah.
Because that carrying that burden and just trying to be strong for everybody around you and afraid really to say I'm not okay for that fear of rejection and feeling less than and not trying to spoil too much, but she does have this huge moment in the film where she finally lets it go and she forgives herself. And I just remember being in absolute tears over that moment. What was the atmosphere like on set? Because I can just imagine how much more powerful that was watching Sonequa and Natalie work through that.
Yeah. Thank you also for that question. It was emotional as hell. Um, I was in tears, other people were in tears, and then Sonequa just doing it over. We actually were very efficient, and this was a very independent film, so we did mostly like a couple takes, sometimes two takes, three takes, but Sonequa, she is such a, and I don't use this word lightly, a trooper, no pun intended. She is just it's so impressive. And Natalie will talk about how difficult it was for her to be nose to nose with Sonequa going through that each time. And yeah, it was powerful and it was cathartic. And yeah, because Merritt, that character is me and my proxy, there was something uh, special happening in that moment.
I can imagine. I also really love that there are a lot of veterans in this film, like almost the entire cast, really.
90% veteran cast. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I like how at the end we got little bios about each one, as well as, the beautiful dedication to your friends and squad mates who inspired the story. Going to those group therapy scenes, were those scripted at all, or did you just say, hey, when it's your turn, stand up and share what you want to share?
Wow, you're very perceptive. You're the also people have asked a lot about that, but nobody has just guessed it. Yep, that you took my surprise right there. I did not write dialogue for them very intentionally, and I know all those people. And I had written this film for years, and then I was trying to make it for 2 years, and then eventually made a short film as a proof of concept, just to try to like build my own inertia. And in doing that, I did this exact same scene, the group therapy scene different, it's a different story kind of, but it's the same. So I knew all of them. And so it was a special moment when I got to call them up and say, yo, we're doing the feature. You're in it. You already auditioned once. You're coming to Portland and you're going to play opposite another veteran. His name is Morgan Freeman. Um, and then I said, same as last time, I'm not going to write anything for you. So the script literally says it's a group of veterans. They represent the best of America. There's teachers and doctors and lawyers and artists, and they each stand and share their experience. And that was it. And they did it.
I love that. I also feel like I need an update. Like, did the one guy, how's his comedic endeavors going? And how's the teacher? And,
Good question. Yeah. Well, look him up. His name is Tom Tran. And he is maybe one of the most well-known and funny comedians who's a veteran that is out there. Of course, I did that in reverse. Like I know Tom, he's a friend. I love him. We've been friends for a while, and so I was like, okay, Tom, I'm gonna make you like a business guy, but that's like trying to do comedy, and I take zero credit for the jokes in the film. That's all Tom. So yeah, I think his character is doing well.
Yes. Okay, good. Good to know. So really quickly, we talked about the veterans, but Morgan, Sonequa, Natalie, Ed, they also just did a phenomenal job and they are so talented. How was that like a pinch me moment to have these actors join and tell your story?
Yep. Also fully pinch me. But I will say maybe that all happened a little bit ahead of time, before we got to set. And then once we got to set, like I'm a pretty driven person. Like I hyper collaborative on set. I think that's one of the things you'll hear the cast talk about a lot is, my approach is keep the windows open and let people make it their own. I mean, that's why I chose to cast myself and my buddy as women, just to like the idea is that it would be my story, but everybody's story too. It would leave space for others. And so when we got to set, it was like I was kind of we had stuff to do, and we
Mhm.
got through it. And that's actually really the fun part about actors at that level is you just get out of the way, you just get out of the way. And we had so many great conversations, but that was one of the easiest parts of my job. And I'm just being an audience member, just watching and yeah, maybe say a thing, craft something here and there, but like they're incredible. They're fully incredible. Yeah.
Yes. And honestly, having Morgan Freeman, the voice of God, be the counselor, like that was gold. Whoever
Yeah.
picked that gets a raise
Yeah.
because perfect
Yeah.
casting.
I agree. And that's based on a real person. It's based on a real Vietnam veteran, actually an amalgamation of two that were like pretty transformative for me when I was still in merit, thick-headed, stubborn land. So yeah, just get the voice of God to talk you out of it.
Exactly. That's all you need. Well, that's my time. I just want to thank you again for your time. Thank you for your service, and really thank you for the story and for sharing it. I am so grateful I got to watch it already, and I'm excited for others to see it as well because it's coming to theaters this month,
Yeah, and
next
please,
week.
Ashley, tell people to see it in theaters. Like we're an indie film. There was no studio, no streamer. We're going to be in theaters nationwide